Hi everyone, I'm Aubrey Ivy, a third-year vet student here at Texas A&M University College of Veterinary Medicine. And today I'm going to talk to you about spaying and neutering, something that's really important today and something you've probably heard a little bit about, but I'm going to answer some questions and tell you some interesting things you can tell your parents when you go home today. Alright, so how did I get here? I'm the class of 2009, which means I will become a doctor in May of 2009, so I'm getting close. I went to high school in Decatur, which is a small town in Texas, so I got my high school diploma. And then I came to A&M and got a 4-year degree, which is called a bachelor's degree, in biomedical science. And now I am in veterinary school, which is another 4 years, and I just have about 1.5 to go. Why did I want to become a veterinarian? So I moved out to Decatur, which is a small sort of country town, from the Fort Worth area when I was in 6th grade. And I wanted to start raising animals. And cattle were too big, and horses were big as well. And we met some friends who raised goats with 4-H. And I saw those baby goats and thought they were just the cutest thing in the world. So we went and got my first 2 goats, and I got involved in 4-H. I think they may have 4-H around here. And started raising the 2 kids. I had a boy and a girl, and went to goat shows and learned how to take care of them. I already enjoyed science in school. I liked problem solving. I did things like science fairs and everything, and really enjoyed learning about medical things and how to take care of these goats. I started volunteering at a local vet clinic over the summers. We didn't know much about goats when we started raising them, and we actually spent a lot of time at the vet clinic those first couple years. And through the time that we spent there, and it seemed to always be during emergency hours, so late at night, we got to visit with the veterinarians there a little bit, and I was just amazed with what they were able to do, and the potential to help all these animals. So I started volunteering there, and I just couldn't get enough of it. I volunteered there that whole first summer, and then continued volunteering through the school year, and just as much as I could. I didn't have a driver's license yet, so I had my parents bring me up there, so had some dedicated parents. And I just wanted to learn how to help other animals. I wanted to learn more about veterinary medicine and what these doctors did. There was just so much potential that I realized there. So what do veterinarians do? I'm sure when you think about a veterinarian, you think about when you take your dogs and cats to the vet to get their shots. But there's actually a lot more things that veterinarians do that I've learned over the years. We take care of dogs and cats, but also horses, livestock, zoo animals. If you've ever been to the zoo, there are veterinarians at every zoo help take care of those animals. Pocket pets, which are like gerbils and hamsters and things like that. And they also take care of people. I'll explain how they do that. So we give vaccinations, that's what everyone thinks about. And we also educate owners about animal care. We help you to know what to do best for your pets. We diagnose and treat animal diseases. We also inspect food for consumption by people. So there's any meat that you eat, any animal product, eggs even, there are veterinarians that inspect that food. And it's important these days, especially when you think about food that we get from other countries, that we have veterinarians here in the U.S. that are making sure that food is safe for us. We research human and animal diseases. That's really important. Veterinarians work with human doctors to develop treatments for diseases that you hear about, on the news. And also new drugs that are developed, they start by researching with animals and then humans. So it's a close relationship between the veterinary and human medicine fields to help both sides be as healthy as possible. And then the fun thing that veterinarians get to do is we perform surgeries such as spaying and neutering, which is why I'm here to talk to you today. So why should I spay or neuter my pet? Shelter overpopulation is a big problem. I have some statistics here. Approximately 61% of all dogs entering shelters are euthanized, and approximately 75% of all cats entering shelters are euthanized. So this means that the majority of animals that are going into shelters are never coming out of the shelters. And as many as 25% of dogs entering shelters each year are purebreds. So a purebred means any breed that you can think of, a Labrador, a Dalmatian, a Dachshund, a Golden Retriever. These are not just mutts that are in shelters. They could be purebred dogs that just don't have a home. There's just too many of them. Shelter overpopulation is expensive. I know that none of you are paying your taxes yet, but this is very important to your parents and soon will be to you. It costs approximately $100 to catch, house, feed, and provide medical care for each stray animal in a shelter. And this money must be paid by taxpayers. So there's kind of a trickle-down effect. It ends up costing everybody more money the more animals that have to go into the shelter. Some more statistics here. An estimated 52 million dogs and 57 million cats live with U.S. families. I'm sure most of you have pets at home, and this is the case all over the country. For every human born, 7 puppies and kittens are born. Just think about that. When you were born, as many as 7 puppies and kittens may have been born that same day, and that's a lot of animals. More than 12 million dogs and cats are euthanized in shelters each year, and millions more are abandoned in rural and urban areas. This is a problem, all over the U.S., but especially when you think about countries in other parts of the world. There are so many animals that are abandoned, roaming the streets, spreading diseases. It's dangerous to people. It's dangerous to the animals, and it's a major burden that society has to manage. And there are ways that you can help. So, how does pet overpopulation happen? I know that everyone loves math and calculations, and I just wanted to kind of show you how these numbers can multiply over the years. These are just general estimates just to give you an idea of how quickly a population of kittens can grow over time. So let's say year 1, if one female cat had 3 litters of 6 kittens each, which is about average, then that would be 18 kittens for that year, and by the end of the year there would be 20 cats. Year 2, if all of those females, let's say half of the babies were females, they grew up, let's say all of them have as many kittens as average, then by the end of year 2 you would have 200 cats. If you keep multiplying that through year 3, you'd end up with about 2,000 cats, and by year 4 you could end up with 20,000 cats. So another way to look at this is with a graph. I know that you've all seen graphs in your science classes, so you'll have no problem understanding this. The numbers get so big that in fact we had to change the scale there at the top. So year 1, it doesn't look like much. We just had the 20 cats, so it's a very small amount. You may not even notice 20 extra cats in your neighborhood. By year 2, you're noticing it. There's the 200 cats. Year 3, there's a lot more. And by year 4, the bar is, off the roof. So it's a way to see that these numbers can really grow quickly. All right, so now let's talk about some of the reasons why somebody might not want to get their pet spayed or neutered. The first popular excuse is that it's too expensive to have my pet spayed or neutered. Actually, the price is relatively small considering the benefits to the health of your pet and costs associated with having a litter. The benefits to your pet's health is a decreased risk of infections and cancers of the reproductive tract. Since we're removing it, they can't get any disease there. Preventing diseases associated with breeding, which there's a lot of diseases that can be spread through breeding animals. And giving your pet a longer, healthier life. Especially male cats or male dogs, they may break out of a backyard, and run around, end up getting hit by a car or hurt in some way because they're running around the neighborhood. So this actually can help to keep them safer and healthier. The second popular excuse is that I'll find good homes for all the puppies and kittens. And that may be, you might be able to find homes for all of them. But each home that you find means one less for the dogs and cats in shelters that need good homes. Remember all those dogs and cats we were talking about that were waiting in shelters to get homes? Well, remember the problem of pet overpopulation is created and perpetuated one litter at a time. So keeping those homes open for shelter pets will help reduce that pet overpopulation. The third popular excuse is, isn't it better to have one litter first? Medical evidence indicates just the opposite, actually. The evidence suggests that females spayed before their first heat are typically healthier and have a lower cancer risk than intact females. And the fourth popular excuse, my dog is purebred, isn't that enough reason to breed him or her? Remember all those purebred animals in the shelter, 25% of them. Breeding purebred dogs and cats perpetuates the genetic diseases brought about by centuries of inbreeding. In fact, mixed breed animals have a lower incidence of genetic diseases and a longer and healthier life expectancy. So this is something you may or may not have learned about yet in school, but it's an important thing to know about breeding purebred dogs. To make a dog breed, it has taken years of close breeding, and this is talking about sometimes breeding brothers with sisters, breeding mothers with sons, in order to increase a certain trait that they like. Let's say you're trying to create a dog breed with a very long nose, like a dachshund. Well, they may just keep breeding the dogs with the longest noses and not pay attention to the fact that over time their backs are starting to show problems. And this is what has happened with a lot of the breeds. The genetics are so that they look good on the outside, but they may have problems on the inside. So sometimes it's actually better to have a mixed breed animal. Breed two different breeds together so that their good traits can complement each other and the bad traits may be decreased. And remember, at least 1 out of every 4 pets brought to animal shelters are purebred. You can find any breed you want at a shelter. So if you do want a purebred, you should be able to go to a shelter or a rescue group and get one. So let's say, hearing all these reasons, you have decided to get your pet spayed or neutered. What happens next? So first you may want to know, when should your pet be spayed or neutered? Generally by 6 months of age. You should ask your own veterinarian for your particular animal, but that's generally the age we want to do it. What is involved in the surgery? Pets are evaluated to make sure they're healthy enough for anesthesia. If any of you have been in for surgery at all, you've been under anesthesia, which means you're basically asleep and you don't feel anything and you don't remember anything. And the pets have to be healthy enough to handle those medicines. If you've had surgery, then they probably drew some blood beforehand, and they run some tests on your blood just to make sure that all your internal organs are functioning well and that you'll be fine under anesthesia. Pets are given a sedative, pain medication, and an anesthetic so that they are comfortable and asleep during surgery. And we use a lot of the same drugs that human doctors use on their own animals for surgery. Now is the fun thing. So when we're doing surgery, we have several tools that we use. I'm going to show you some examples of the tools, and several of them I've brought examples of, just not the sharp instruments. So the first thing is the towel clamp, and this is how we keep the towels draped around the skin where we're going to cut so that everything stays clean. Next, we obviously need scalpels. These are like special knives that we use when we're cutting through skin or tissue when we're doing surgery. I didn't bring any scalpels because they're very sharp, but it's an important tool that the veterinarian uses, and as you'll see, there's several different types depending on the type of surgery that we need to do. We also use what are called hemostats, and they're basically instruments that can pinch a blood vessel and keep it from bleeding. This is a picture of a veterinarian using what's called a spay hook, and the spay hook is used to get part of the uterus, which is part of the reproductive tract in the female, and pull it out of the body so that we can tie it off and then remove it. If you'll notice, it's actually not that bloody, and that was one of the first things that surprised me when I watched surgery at the veterinarian where I was volunteering, that you keep the surgery site clean, and if you're careful, the animal will lose very little blood at all. And it's the same way if you've had surgery. We also use things called forceps. You might have used these in your science classes, and they look a little bit like tweezers, but they're specialized for surgery, and we just use them to hold the tissues so that they don't slip out of our fingers. We also use scissors. If there's something that we need to cut, a part of a tissue that we're trying to cut off during surgery. And we use what's called a needle driver. If you've ever had stitches, you have seen the doctor use one of these. It's a special instrument that holds the needle that has suture, which is kind of like a special thread on the end of it, to go through the skin, and then we know how to tie special knots so that the suture will stay in and hold your skin together so it will heal. And this is an example of a type of suture. There's lots of different brands, and in vet school, if you go to vet school, you'll get to memorize all the different types. But this is one of the types that we use. And like I said, it's just like a special thread, and some of them will dissolve over time, so you don't even have to remove it. So when your doctor does a surgery like a spay or neuter, and they leave suture ties inside the body, they'll use a kind that will dissolve. And so you don't have to go in and do another surgery just to take them off. But they'll probably leave sutures in the skin that you'll need to go back in a week or two to get removed. So let's say that you saw all of this and you just were like me and thought it was the neatest thing you'd ever seen. And so you would like to be a vet. What are some things you can start doing now? Well, my advice would be to do several things. First, I would volunteer in your community and at a veterinary clinic. 4-H was a good way to do this too. We had volunteer activities. But any way that you can get involved and help others out is important. And then if you can volunteer at a veterinary clinic to see firsthand what day-to-day life is for a veterinarian, that really helps. You should obviously study hard and make good grades in school, especially your science classes. In vet school, every class is a science class, so you want as strong of a science base as you can get, and science should be something that you really enjoy. You should take opportunities for club involvement and leadership positions. As a veterinarian, you're a leader, and it's important to start as early as possible, learning how to work with other people, learning how to be organized, and learning how to be a leader. You can start small. There's probably clubs in your school that you can take a leadership role in. You don't have to be president. But anything that you can do, you can be treasurer, you can be a secretary, you can help just organize a single event. It all helps so that you can build your leadership skills for later. Also, you can work at a vet clinic or other animal-related job once you're old enough. And if you have parents that are willing to go and drop you off every day, you may be able to start even before you can drive. And then start researching college options. I don't think it's ever too soon to start looking at the different colleges out there. I think A&M is a wonderful college, but there's so many all over the country. And even for vet school, there's ones outside of this country that you can go to. So ask around, find out what college your parents, family, any adults that you know, find out what college they went to, and maybe ask about their job now, find out how they got to where they are, and ask if they have any advice for you. And this is another one of the reasons that I really enjoy veterinary medicine so much. I have had the opportunity of traveling a lot, and that's something that veterinary medicine really offers. Animals are so important all over the world for food and milk and companionship, like in the U.S. So you can go other places, and by helping the animals, you help the people. These are just some pictures of some different places I've been, to some places in the Caribbean, and then the picture of the polar bear is actually of one in Germany. I got to go to Germany, and his name is Canute, and he's at a zoo there. So you can go anywhere and be involved with veterinary medicine, meet interesting people, and help others out in so many different ways. And then this is a picture of me in Canada on a dog sled, and I just picked it out because I thought it might be inspiring to you, just to pick your trail and set out on it and dream big.